We now know that the vast majority of security compromises start with compromised credentials. And tragically, we're all still so reliant on all our passwords for work and our private lives. So what does it mean to go passwordless? Let's talk to Terence Brown. Terence, why don't we start by telling us, what does it mean to go passwordless for an organization?
I would say what it means would be moving away from, let's call it the old school traditional username and password.
That combination.
And
we've relied on that for a long time.
Long time, since the 1800s.
Yep. So when we think about going passwordless, which categories of devices should we be thinking about?
I would say you should think about it in all devices. Take, for example, the iPhones. I'm an Android user myself, but I would say...
I sympathize.
I would say with the iPhone, if you look at the elegance of the way that device has been created, there's no longer a need to really type in your PIN anymore. You just kind of look at it and it unlocks.
Very elegant.
Even with COVID now, they have protocols now that do a deeper dive into facial recognition of your mask.
Yeah.
And so now there's no longer the need to be on a train with crowded people to do the whole pull down.
Great. So we want to try and take the elegance of the iPhone experience and replicate that across Windows, Macs, all the device families.
Right.
Okay. So what's the problem that we're trying to solve with passwordless?
So think of it like this. It was great in the past, not so much in the future. Back when passwords were first created, it made sense to type in a username and password. But as things have become more complex in this world of 2021, we just can't be trusted.
And is that because we all have too many passwords and people are reusing the same passwords?
Absolutely, which actually increases a company's risk for attack surface. If a user has been using their passwords on every social media site and every bill pay site, once one of those are compromised, now the business potential is compromised.
Yeah. And some research recently showed I think something like 6% of people use their pet's name as the basis of their password, and something like 40% of people have patterns that they reuse. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's, when you say passwords are no longer suitable for the future,
right?
It's because humans are lazy. Humans can't remember complex alphanumeric passwords with characters and numbers, and we can't change them all every 90 days.
Exactly.
It's just too hard.
Too hard.
Why now? Why is passwordless such a big, important topic right now?
I would say COVID has a huge impact on that. So many people at home, so many people remote. There's been a massive increase on cyber attacks.
Yeah.
We've had clients recently that have unfortunately dealt with those issues themselves. And for them in those scenarios, in those particular situations, they did not have a passwordless environment. They didn't have MFA and other features that were available to them, and they just weren't using it. So I would say that's probably the biggest reason.
And what I've heard is that hackers no longer need to break into your environment. They can simply log in with your weakest password.
Yeah, it's like that show. Remember The Weakest Link?
There you go. So the weakest password in the organization is probably going to be the point of entry.
And it only takes one.
It only takes one. Yep. So what does a passwordless environment help us achieve then?
I would say for the first part, better security.
Yeah.
Better security for endpoints, better security for remote users, which is what a lot of people are dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And I would say optimizing overall your end user experience.
Yeah, user experience is fantastic.
Yeah. If you're not having to remember all of these different password complexities, and you really can just click or look, it's going to definitely increase the experience.
Yeah. So how do we achieve that? Talk to me about the technology, the building blocks to enable passwordless in somebody's environment.
So everybody wants to know the building blocks. Your cloud identity is going to be the first step, right? Azure AD, Active Directory. With that, I would say devices that are capable of biometrics.
Yeah.
MFA, or multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
As well as single sign-on or SSO. Those are going to be your main building blocks.
Okay, so we have our cloud identity, protected by multi-factor authentication,
Yes.
biometrics on our devices, and then SSO compliant applications.
Yes.
And chaining all those together.
Tying them all together to work seamlessly as they've been designed.
Fantastic. And I guess the benefits of that are going to be better security, better user experience, as you mentioned before. Can you tell us about some organizations who are doing this?
Momentor is a really good example. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you typed the password?
Been a while.
Exactly.
Been a while.
For engineers,
and I don't miss it. I don't miss it.
For engineers, it's probably a little bit different because we're constantly working with clients to set up their environments and configure things. So
you're going to unique environments.
We're doing some unique setups and some initial configurations where we're typing in passwords. But for my internal access, I know I haven't really had to type my password in maybe a couple times.
Right. So you can use your biometrics, get into the operating system, access all your Office applications, SaaS applications that are federated or compliant, and it's just beautiful passwordless experience.
One and done.
So why isn't every organization on the planet going passwordless?
So think of it like this. It requires the right technology, one.
Yep.
I would say for some other organizations, it's the decision to move from your legacy environment.
Yep.
So your on-prem older technologies that may not be compliant. And when you think about that, there's a lot of applications out there that are just not SAML compliant.
Yeah.
Meaning you just
They're
don't
not
have
modern
that capability.
Yeah.
And it puts a lot of clients and customers in a space of, we want to do this, but we can't because the applications don't support it.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those who want to do it, what are the costs?
So this is a cool thing about Microsoft and a lot of the Microsoft licensing structure is the costs already exist there in the M365 E3 space, which a lot of clients are already paying for.
Yeah.
Just not using it.
Okay, so you got the M365 E3 license.
Mm-hmm.
That includes EMS, that includes Azure AD.
Right.
You got biometrics on devices that run TPM chips, I guess.
Right.
You got single sign-on capability, you got multi-factor. It's all in the box.
It's all in the box. Now, there are some clients, or vendors, I should say, that may charge a little bit extra for
SSO. Services. Yeah, we've seen that. A premium version of a product needed to get SSO.
Exactly.
The cheap version of the product doesn't have it. You need a username and password.
Yeah, but for your Microsoft licensing, out of the box, it's
fantastic. There. Fantastic. Would you say that passwordless authentication is a nice to have or a must have capability in organizations as we head into 2022?
I would say it's a must have, especially if you're in the conversational space of future proofing your environment. Yeah, it's a must have for the future. And with the things that have been happening, especially during this COVID season, with the advanced threats that have been happening, it's a must have for right now.
Okay. And where do you see passwordless fitting into the whole modern endpoint management paradigm and framework?
I would say modern endpoints themselves, your remote users, their devices should all be secured with modern management and MFA and security when operating like those devices. If you're in another country, if you're in another state, no matter where you are, you should have that more modern security to protect not only yourself, but the business as well.
Okay. Great. Thank you.